Boston Bruins forward David Backes has been suspended for 3 games by NHL Player Safety for an illegal check to the head that occurred last night against the New Jersey Devils. We'll take a quick look at the hit, and I'll give you my thoughts and reaction to this NHL suspension. We also have a few quick tidbits of news on the NHL waiver wires. Plus, I also want to discuss an absolutely crazy interview that took place with Dallas Stars CEO with Dallas Media, where he had a lot of choice words here for players like Benn and Tyler Seguin. I'll show you that article, and we'll discuss all that coming up next. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and discuss all 31 NHL teams, so if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. So as I mentioned off the top, we have a few items to discuss here today, but I want to kick things off and discuss the suspension here. Boston Bruins forward David Backes, who was just handed down a suspension from NHL Player Safety for a 3-game ban for an illegal check to the head that occurred last night against the New Jersey Devils. Now, if you haven't had a chance to see the hit, I'm going to show you a very quick clip of it here to get your own opinion. So as you can see here, David Backes comes into the zone and makes contact here with Brian Coleman of the New Jersey Devils. He had just released the puck, so there's no issues with the timing. He didn't leave his feet or anything like that. So the only real issue here is that when he lowers in, his shoulder makes complete contact with Coleman's head. Based on the angle that he took, he did not really make contact with the shoulder or core of the player at all. He ended up getting primary contact with the head, which is obviously a big problem here. He was given a 2-minute penalty on the play in last night's game, but NHL Player Safety decided to have a hearing, and they also are able to classify him as a repeat offender because it has not been all that long since Backes was previously suspended. So he's been given a 3-game ban for this situation here. So of course, now that you've had a chance to see it, you know the resultant outcome here from Player Safety. I'd like to hear your thoughts down in the comment section. What do you think of the suspension against Boston Bruins forward David Backes? Now, my opinion on it is quite simply this. You can tell from the clip here that I've shown that the head was the primary point of contact. He is considered a repeat offender, so in my opinion, a 3-game suspension is fair. Like I've said with many other suspension discussions and reactions on this channel, though, I'd really appreciate NHL Player Safety to be more consistent with these calls. We've had discussions on here where we thought there should have been suspension and there was not, and other times where it's kind of debatable. To me, this one's a pretty clear-cut textbook case where the primary contact was the head, suspension given. I don't have any issues with the call, but I'd love to hear what you think down below. So as I also mentioned here, that we have a couple of quick tidbits of news on the NHL waiver wires. They won't get into the Dallas Stars CEO rant that he went on here with Dallas Media just not too long ago earlier today. But we have a couple players placed on NHL waivers today, starting with Edmonton Oilers placing Valentin Zykov on waivers. Now, he was picked up off waivers himself not that long ago from the Carolina Hurricanes. He got into 5 games with the Oilers but didn't put up any points. And it looks as though that experiment in Edmonton has come to an end. Obviously, if he goes unclaimed, he can report to their American Hockey League affiliate. It is possible here, maybe we'll see the Carolina Hurricanes reclaim him. That seems to be a very common practice nowadays with players going on waivers for the purpose of mainly going to the minors. They end up losing them, then if things don't work out where they end up getting claimed, they quite often will get reclaimed by their old club. But no guarantee here, because if Carolina does take him, they could assign him to their American Hockey League affiliate without putting him through waivers again. So it's certainly a little bit safer bet on their part to take him back should they decide to give him a chance. It's unfortunate, really, because Zykov, got off to a really good start last year. Towards the end of the year on his call up to Carolina, he had a really strong finish to the season. I know myself, I had high hopes for him that he would be, a fairly productive player for the Hurricanes this year, but he got off to a slow start. I didn't think things didn't really work out, and Carolina goes over to Edmonton and didn't really work there either. So we'll see what happens. We'll know at noon Eastern time tomorrow if he gets claimed or not, and see if he remains in Edmonton or goes back to Carolina, or what happens next for Valentin Zykov. The Anaheim Ducks have also placed defenseman Jake Dotchin on waivers. Now, of course, you remember at the beginning of the year, Dotchin used to be a member of the Tampa Bay Lightning, but he was basically put on unconditional waivers for the purpose of termination because they were very unhappy with how he showed up to training camp. They basically, the speculation was that he was approximately 30 pounds overweight, and things that they were not happy at all with his conditioning at all. So they basically considered that to be a material breach of contract, and were able to release him from that. And of course, he was then later signed by the Anaheim Ducks to a one-year deal. Was spent the bulk of the time at the beginning of the year with their AHL affiliate. He played 16 games, recorded 1 assist, and was a -3. So obviously, I think it's pretty unlikely myself that Dodsworth will get claimed. So he more than likely will go back down to their American Hockey League affiliate. But obviously, like I said, when he was first signed by the Ducks, he can be that extra piece that can go up and down. But obviously, right now, not somebody who's going to be a regular NHL player, at least not at this time. I would be very surprised if he gets claimed based on his history and everything that happened with Tampa this year. To be honest, I was a little surprised that he got a contract as quickly as he did with the Ducks. So again, I'm more than likely he goes down and reports to the American Hockey League once that's done. Now, one other quick news on a player who recently went through waivers but is back, and that's Montreal Canadiens defenseman Karl Alzner. He has been called back up to the Montreal Canadiens, and more than likely will suit up here. Now, I know they play tonight. I haven't received confirmation just yet if he's in the lineup or not, but he has been called up to the NHL. We'll see if his play is any better. I mean, from what I can see, I didn't see any clips or anything, but from what I was hearing and reading online, looks as though his play in the American Hockey League was pretty solid. As we know, the Habs had allowed him and his agent to find himself a trade. Maybe this might be an indication that maybe things might be close to a trade because his play was good in the AHL. Maybe they're trying to showcase him here and see if another team will take that contract off their hands, because even if he plays a little bit better, I highly doubt they're going to be feeling much different about that contract unless the play gets drastically better. So time will tell here, but we'll see what Karl Alzner's second chance at the NHL this year will do for him, and if he can do any better than he did before. Now, as I mentioned, we saw a crazy article here from Dallas Stars media, mainly from Sean Shapiro of The Athletic, with an interview here with the Dallas Stars CEO, who went on an absolute tirade and had a lot of choice words here for Captain Jamie Benn and forward Tyler Seguin. Obviously, those two guys are their highest paid players, their most productive players, they're go-to guys to get the job done. And really, for the longest time, Dallas has been one of those teams that they just don't seem to get over that hump and be a solidified contender, not only for the Cup, but for their conference or for their division. They quite often will either just miss the playoffs and be one of the top non-playoff teams, or they'll barely squeak in. They just really, of all the moves that their general manager has made, a lot of times they look great on paper and just don't seem to deliver. So I'm going to throw some pieces of that article up on the screen here, and we'll read through the fine choice words here that Mr. Lights had to say regarding his star players. So the article begins by saying they are effing horseshit. I don't know how else to put it, Lights told The Athletic Sean Shapiro and Matthew DeFranks of the Dallas Morning News. The team was okay, but Seguin and Benn were terrible. And Lights added that his sentiment is echoed by team owner Tom Gagliardi. He's pissed, Lights explained, and you know what it's about. These guys are not good enough, Lights continued. They're not good enough for me, they're not good enough for the owner, and they're certainly not good enough for the general manager, who I can't speak for, but I know it's not good enough for the job he's done. But we've had meeting after meeting after meeting. The accountability on the ice is not there. These guys were signed to big contracts because they were the 3rd and 6th leading scorers in the National Hockey League over the past 5 years. They get their money, we expect them not to be outplayed every game we play in. And if they were as good as they've been in the past, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Lights, however, added that he doesn't regret the team handing out the pair's hefty deals. The article goes on to say here, it's not about how much money. I don't resent the money, Lights said. It's about what we expect the money to be. You just can't win if your best players aren't your best players, and they aren't our best players. Both players acknowledge their play needs to be at a higher level than it currently is. Not good enough, Seguin said, told The Athletic. I've got to play better. I'm trying to do a job and I haven't had the right results. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. If this team wants to get to the next level, that starts with myself, Benn added. And that's exactly what needs to happen. We need to get better. And Lights hopes that happens before it's too late. These guys have been great players, but we are 40 games into the season and they aren't getting it done, he said. We are going to sleepwalk to another 14th place from the bottom and miss the playoff. No. If Lights thinks there might be any blowback for his shockingly candid remarks, he's not afraid of it. I take a lesson from Bob Gainey here, Lights said. He said you'd be really successful in this league if you never gave a shit about being invited to players' daughters' weddings, and that's what I think. I'm a year-to-year guy, and I'll be damned if a guy who has been as good to me as Tom Gagliardi, as good to this franchise, isn't getting results, and those players are not getting it done. I'm telling you, we're going to run through a GM who does everything he can to make the team better because we aren't getting the results. The Stars, 1916-3, are next in action on Saturday night when they host the Detroit Red Wings. Quite the interview from the Stars CEO. I mean, some certainly choice words. He certainly wasn't holding back how he felt at all. Obviously, Seguin and Benn acknowledged the fact that they haven't been good enough, but I mean, wow, these is something you never see, not only from like an owner, a CEO, a team president, a general manager. You don't see these types of comments. I mean, I've seen plenty of times when you see a GM or an ownership or a high-ranking executive maybe make comments that, you know, we're not playing good enough or something to that effect. But to call out your star players and to use the words that he did and to cuss like he did is quite shocking. I mean, I won't disagree necessarily with his comments. I mean, what he's saying isn't exactly untrue here. I mean, these guys have to be their best players night in and night out. And the results of this team really does rest on their shoulders. I mean, when they're a team that's trying to contend for the division, for the conference, to get to the Stanley Cup, I mean, these are the guys that they're relying on to get them there based on the roles they play and the money that they make. So their positions certainly do come with a lot of responsibility, and clearly the team is not happy with how they've been handling it. So we'll see how they respond here, but I'd certainly love to get your thoughts and comments down below on the Star CEO interview here. I mean, this is absolutely nuts. Not something you see very often at all, especially the remarks and the choice of words he had to say here with Dallas media. I'm just, wow, is all I can say. So I'd love to know what you think, and we'll continue that conversation. If you're new to the channel here, I hope you consider subscribing. We cover all 31 NHL teams, and there's plenty of content here for all hockey fans to enjoy. So if you're new, hit that subscribe button. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up before you go. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you very much for watching, everybody. We will catch you next time.